Okay. Hey guys. Welcome to my... Sorry, Rori's got the filter on him. Wait, let me take it off completely. Hey guys. Okay, it's off. Welcome to Mentorship Monday. Thank you so much for joining. Avetandra, thank you for your question. We're going to get to it. Mudaniski, Amantle. I told you about how I loved Amantle's name. Anyway, Amantle, hi. And Ayabonga, Ndumiso. Okay, Ndu, you're going to put the questions in. Kamo, hello to you. Lady Ash and Sabina. Khali Munare, hello. Mbalentle. I am on the collega. Hello to you. Miss Lungile, nice to see you. Faizek, hi. Leslie's here.
Leslie, would you please answer my text messages? Leslie, I sent you a text message.
So guys, thank you so much for joining. We're going to keep it short and sweet today. We literally only have 30 minutes because load shedding messed us up a little bit. So I'm going to try and squeeze as many... Oh, hi Ajay. I'm going to try and squeeze so much time in. And remember, Mentorship Mondays is all about... Amanda's like, finally. Hey, yes, guys. You know, I think I'm doing good things, and then people only want to see Rori here. We're going to keep it short and sweet. Remember how the Mentorship Mondays works? It's based on your questions. So please post questions. We only got about 3 questions because of the late notice. But if there are more questions, we want to take them. Okay. Can I start with my favorite question?
Okay.
So my favorite question was from Avetandwa, I think. And the question to Rori was, what inspires you about Nosy? So, it's my favorite question. So, Avatandra's a regular on Mentorship Mondays.
Not you by
No, it's not me by a different name. So,
what inspires? Is this like mentorship question?
Yeah, well, it's just a question.
What inspires me about Noz? So I guess Noz is my wife. So, you know, the inspiration might probably be slightly different. So not to be deep or anything, but you know, the word inspiration derives from the words for breathe into, right? So I normally, when I think of what inspires me about something or someone, normally what are the things that breathe life into me about that person? And I think the number one thing about Noz is just the way she loves me. That, you know, Noz is very deliberate about showing love and expressing love, and you know, sometimes it even irritates me because she is highly protective in her love. So I think that for me is the first and foremost thing about what inspires me. Obviously, the usual things. I mean, she's a proper machine. I think her and I are on very different. We operate on very different wavelengths, energy-wise, right? So Noz is this up in the morning, just an energizer bunny, just ticking things off a list, highly goal orientated, and so, you know, that inspires me because I guess the things that inspire me about Noz are probably most of the things that are not my strengths necessarily, right? So yeah, I think her goal orientation, the energy with which she throws herself at everything. And she's got a very fixated, she's very fixated on how things should be, right? Now these are not things that I might accept the world as it is generally. She's very fixated on how the world should be, and so she operates from that point of view. So the things that inspire me about her are also the things that we fight the most about, by the way, because, you know, on the one hand, when it's in the right proportions, it's great. When she overdoes it, it's irritating. So yeah.
Okay, great. So that's the soppy question. So it's out of the way. But thank you for asking, Avetandra. I wanted to pin Nontle's question. That's just she's just sent through. Nontle is saying, "Hey guys, I hope this is not too personal, because both of you are working at the level that you are. But are there any gender roles for you guys? So, when you think about, the way we do life together, are there any gender roles in your view? And before you answer, by the way, guys, the reason I'm wearing a doek is not because I'm doing a live with my husband. I'm having a terrible, terrible bad hair day. You don't want to see what's under here. So I'm just hiding stuff. So, gender roles in your view?
So I guess, and you can jump in on this, we don't have roles, we don't assign roles to one another on the basis of gender, but we do have roles that would traditionally be associated with particular gender, because that's just what we're most comfortable with, or that's just what the other person doesn't want to have to get to know. So yeah, I mean, Naz cooks very well.
Not often enough, but
it's not her job to cook. It's just she cooks a lot. When I cook too, but she cooks a lot. She will care a lot about in the house
what it looks like,
but that's not, at least as far as I think, it's not because she's a woman. She's just wired to care about it. She really does. She cares how things look. I'm not that fussed. And then what do? I have to take care of what the garden and everything look like. I have to take care of the technology and all of those. So I guess in that way, but it's not because any of us say
it's a man's job.
It's a woman's job. It's just what we I guess we operate from our places of strength.
And right now our Uber order for supper is here, so he needs to go get it, but he'll be back in a second. But I think maybe just to add that to that question, because one of the things that I think is we also try to do intentionally in some moments where we feel like gender roles are inconsistent with the values that we share, we actually go out of our way to disrupt them. So I'll use an example. So typically when you go to family gatherings, you'll find that there are the women are all sitting on one side and the men are all standing together. And oftentimes you'll see, some guys will have their wives dish up for them and then sort of deliver the food to them while they're standing there. And, Rori and I both looked at that when we were kind of like, we actually don't really like that. And so what he tends to do is that he will dish up for me. When we are in these family gatherings, and it's just something that we do. So we are flexible in the sense of working from our areas of strength. So Mia, thank you for picking that up. But we also are very conscious about the things that we don't feel are consistent with some core beliefs that we share, and in light of that, we'll then go out of our way to try and disrupt those. Love, you've got to come quickly. There's a question from Muda Naski is asking, do gender roles apply also in finances for you guys? So I hope Rori can hear me, but he's on his way back now. Love, so the question is, do we apply gender roles when it comes to finances?
So I don't know what. Yeah, I guess the first.
Come closer.
I guess the first bit is I'm not 100% sure what the gender roles in finances are.
I think the typical gender role is that the woman is like a super spender and the guy's conservative, and I think that's like the generic thing.
So I don't know. The fights we have over money is that Naz thinks I'm too generous with money. So that's her thing. But in terms of spending, yes, Naz is constantly bumping into Take-A-Lot boxes and all of these weird things. So I guess it's I don't know if there's gender roles.
No. So
I'm not a go out and spend, not because I'm trying to be a man. I'm not.
So Rori is very generous to others. So he'll spend a lot of money on other people, on friends, on family, on experiences. I'm the what do you call it? A Grinch.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the Grinch, which means I'm the one who's always negotiating things down. So I do spend more but I'm also like very conservative about spending. I want good value for money, so I don't leave a shop without a negotiation.
So irritating. don't ever go shopping with Noz. She's embarrassing.
No.
Noz wants to haggle, and I hate haggling.
Haggling, you must know that the price that you're getting is not the real price. The real price is the one you must fight for. So we always fight about that. So he literally walks away, and I know that's fine, and then I'll be the one who will make sure that we're getting a better price for whatever we're trying to buy. So Gugu's here, Msibi.
Hi, sis.
And she's asking, she says, you are both empaths, which of course she knows as well. How do you navigate this journey from a fellow empath?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think we have a formula. I do think that the one thing is definitely being able to lean into moments when we need each other most, and really just being able to tap into that. Noz will typically say that we'll argue about who's the cat and in the family. So in other words, who needs the cuddles and the reassurance and all of those sorts of things. So it's that, but I do think that it does get exhausting because you sometimes come back and you've empathed your way through the whole day, and now there's nothing left for one another. And I think we struggle because sometimes it's just like we're having those tough weeks, and we normally say we're peopled. We're peopled out. And I think the impact of that is that we don't have enough for each other left in the day because we've given so much out. So I think in that sense it's hard. So how do we navigate it? I think the most important thing, and I'm grateful for that, is that probably quite early on in our marriage, or just before our marriage, we invested a lot in just the art of conversation.
Yeah.
We went and got therapy.
And different types of therapy.
We got the church version, we got the shrink version, and it was just helping us, how do we speak? How do we express our needs, and how do we then just speak and find a way of communicating? So I guess we do clash. So the trick for me is not whether we avoid clashing or not. I guess it's, do we have a way of communicating our way out of that and into a place of wholeness? Yeah,
we always say that we're really, or not we say, we know we're very, very good friends. And sometimes we always, like when we're fighting as lovers and as spouses, we'll ask each other, can our friendship carry this? Like, this is a hard conversation, but are we friends enough for our friendship to carry this conversation? And oftentimes it's the friendship that keeps us going. It's like, like at this moment, I'm not liking you so much as a lover. I'm not liking you so much as a husband. But because you're my friend, like, we are man. But, I still, I'm not going to go anywhere. And so I think that helps, the friendship. And somebody was asking very quickly, which of the two types of therapies did we find better? The church therapy or the sort of Western therapists? My gut sense is that they were very complementary. And I didn't feel that there was one better. And the fact they were different in the kind of things they emphasize. And I think therapy is also about, being open, but also just choosing which parts you're actually going to apply for yourself.
Yeah. I definitely didn't get the sense that there's one better than the other. I think that the main thing was they were different. They were complementary. And I think where the church fears to tread, the shrink doesn't mind.
Yeah.
And the things that the shrink might not necessarily touch on because it's outside of his frame of reference.
Yeah.
The church touched on, and so I think it was a good balance.
Also, our brother Debza's here. If you want to say hi to Debza Mlawusi. Nice to see you, Puti.
I owe you one, Debza.
Okay.
I'm well aware.
Okay, this is not the time for you to be negotiating your thing. I just want to quickly pin this comment. So there was another question that came through about how do we support each other in our relative careers. the example was, we don't know what you do, Rori, so maybe you can share a little bit about the amazing work that you do. But Nozi seems to be all over globally. What does that mean to you as a husband who seeks to be supportive?
It's really hard. I go to bed hungry most nights because my wife is not here to cook for me, and I wear creased clothing because
the
clothes aren't ironed. No, I guess how do I seek to be supportive to you?
Yeah, maybe I should answer, like, how do I find you being supportive?
Because support is in the eyes
it's
of
in the receiving.
Yeah.
So I think I might have touched on this before, but I think for me, one of the most important things that I receive in the form of support is affirmation that my work is valued in the family and that it's supported. And I can't downplay that, because I think it makes saying yes to opportunities so much easier, because you actually come home excited and say, oh my gosh, no, you know what? I just got an invitation to go moderate something wherever in the world. And you say that with the spirit of excitement, and it's received in the spirit of excitement, and it's received with so much support. And, babe, that's excellent. When do you go? What do you need in terms of prep? So I feel that that's probably the most important thing. There was a time early in our relationship where I used to practice my openings for my moderations, and this guy is tough. So anybody who knows him from a professional space will know that Rori is a very tough person. So I used to practice, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say this. And he would sit and listen and he would give me feedback and, what about this and what about that? Part of my journey is also getting better at getting feedback. And because he's so tough, sometimes I was like, I'm not going to share it with him. I'm just going to go out there and do it. But every time, I would go to Rori first and test my opening and my sound bites that I wanted to land. I always found that they would just land so much better in the conversation in the global space. So that's the kind of support. Oh, and then one last thing. One of the most special things that my husband does for every single trip when I come back, especially if I'm landing at some awkward hour in South Africa, he will always be there waiting for me to pick me up, and he schedules that time into his diary. And it's actually the most special thing, because it's just always feeling that home is always waiting for you. But let me say this, if I quickly say this, is that because Rori is an entrepreneur in his own right, I think, being married as entrepreneurs can be a tough thing, because each person is on a journey of trying to build something. And then I think it becomes super important to be conscious about not just, being the recipient of support, but to try and support you as well, as much as possible. So the question I'm throwing back to you is, in what moments do you feel supported, if any? Ouch. Oh, yeah.
No, so look, I think the support is both, first of all, just an intellectual partnership. Naz is the type of person I can bounce things off, and I don't think you can understate the importance of just an intellectual partnership, because it's not everyone that will not just be able to engage with the type of stuff I come home with, but it's also have an interest in them and really just want to okay, tell me more. What is that about? Okay, do it this way and not that way. So for me, the support I appreciate the most is that intellectual sparring partner. Of course, Naz is also just very good about the way things should look and sound and so on, and so she's always on that tip. For every meeting, if you've ever seen me in a meeting not wearing sneakers, it's probably because Naz caught me before I left the house and said, what am I doing leaving the house like that? So yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's just the intellectual partnership for me is probably the most amazing. And also, I don't know, it really, it's not an active support, but I can't state enough how just amazing it is to not have to have for things just to sometimes, for her to just get me. So we've got very different personalities, and sometimes it's just like, okay, I think we're upping and leaving and we're going somewhere else for a bit. And it's like, yeah, let's do it. I think there's a certain level of having somebody who will be a counterbalance to you, but there are just moments when you kind of don't need a counterbalance. You just need
flow.
You just need it to happen, and certainly that. And then the last thing I think is, and from a home point of view, Noz just takes care of a lot of the home stuff, which then creates the freedom to do other stuff. And I don't take that for granted. Again, it's not her role as from a gender point of view. She's just good at it.
Okay. We're going to try it again. We're going to wait for a few more people. Sorry, guys, we went into low power mode. So let's just see.
It goes off on low power mode?
So the sound went off.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fine. Okay, so Teho, can you give us a thumbs up, and homie, if you guys can hear us, Slengiwe, can you guys give us a thumbs up if you can hear us? We lost some sound. Les, if you can hear us, can you give us a thumbs up? We just want to make sure that it's all back. Chanel, thank you for being back. Mom Judy, nice to see you. Thank you for being here, Mom Judy Masanas.
Yes. Hi,
you can hear us. Okay, thanks, Nontle. Okay, perfect, guys. So sorry about that. We're going to keep it going for as long as possible. My sister's coming over for dinner, so we're going to just try it. She typically runs late, so we're going to try to keep it going as much as possible. The question that we were responding to is the question from Ayabonga, and Ayabonga was saying, hi, Lauren van Staffel. Ayabonga was saying, how do you guys become intentional about actually spending time together? Given the fact that you guys come across like you are both very, very busy people. So how do you actually spend time together?
Terribly, actually. We're not very good at it. And it's an area of very deliberate work in our relationship. I guess on the one hand, and this is not necessarily a good thing, but the fact that we're both super busy means that we can go for a while and just with each of us doing our own thing and not feel like, oh, but where is she? Where is she right now? And so on. The problem with that is that you do that for too long and the next thing you're strangers. Just, living together but not necessarily being companions and not necessarily having a relationship. So, we've tried all of the things that I guess everybody tries. We try date nights on Fridays. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it's terrible because we arrive there and then we're just falling asleep.
Fell asleep. We walked out in the middle of a movie the other time because we were so tired.
Just exhausted. Other times, at the beginning of a year, we even try and pencil in scheduled breaks. But then, things happen and, Noz will be like, oh my goodness, amazing opportunity. And like, okay, no, that's cool. I've got other things to do. So yeah, I don't think I'm increasingly not even sure that that the ideal of balance is a useful ideal to have. I think that there are phases or seasons of balance and there are seasons when there isn't balance, and I think it's just about being able to navigate those. I'm not saying that one should not, pursue balance, but I think it's just there are times when, then we can release ourselves from not having balance and say, okay, we're going to push, but we need to be deliberate about when we're going to then restore the balance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's so many good questions. Nontle, I'm going to come back to you. So just remind me, Nontle's question is the David White question.
Okay.
So we'll come back to that. But I think one of the things that we always say to each other about, when it comes to spending time with each other, we always say that we never want to run the risk of putting our heads down for so long and being so immersed in work that when we lift our heads, there's no marriage or family to lift our heads to. And it's usually like our reminder to say, hey, dude, I miss you. I haven't seen you for a while. I just want to hang out and spend some time with you. like we did today. And we just completely just hung out today. And I was saying to Rori earlier, we went for a walk in the park with our dog in the morning. And I was saying, I feel like it's truancy, you know, like when you're bunking school, because I felt like I was bunking life. And I was saying to him, I'm actually having a physical reaction of struggling to not feel bad about the fact that I'm just taking a Monday because I can. And so it's a work in progress and we don't get it right. But today's felt super special and it felt like the kind of thing we should actually be trying to do more often. So we'll see. We'll keep trying. I'm going to come back to Nontlene, but Homie, very quickly, Homie Naledi says, how do you guys strike the balance when you're both alpha personalities to remain, to keep harmony in your marriage? So I don't know, are we both alpha?
That's big assumption there that we're both alpha. I don't know. I guess I'd have to understand what an alpha personality is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't, and I guess that's another thing that inspires me about Noz is we don't have power struggles. You know, I think for now, you know, I'm always careful when having these sorts of conversations because, you know, this is life and I don't know what next year will look like. But for now, there's no power struggles. It's just leaning on each other's relative strengths at any given time. And I know that sounds idealistic, but there's no deliberate thing about, I'm going to lean on your relative strength right now. I guess that's what helps with like first dating and figuring out if, you know, is this a person who things happen without necessarily too much conflict and power struggle.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that's really important, and I think we don't do it consciously, but I think we're very deliberate about showing up for each other. And I think the minute you have that intent, that I'm going to show up for you in the sense of, okay, so maybe I'll make an example of this past Saturday, day before yesterday. Rori had been invited to give a talk somewhere. And, you know, I just went as his wife and I was just, you know, showing up for him in that particular space, being in the audience, just wanting to clap him along, making sure that I was taking pictures and doing that. And I think in moments like that, we find that we are in service to each other. And Rori does that all the time, you know, where he can come and support the kind of things that I'm doing. He'll be there, you know, cheering me on and in service of me and what I'm doing in that moment. And I think the moment you sort of step into like very deliberate about servicing each other and being and serving your spouse, I think it takes away a lot of the power struggles that could be there. And I think instead of focusing on how do we not have power struggles, I think we maybe unconsciously actually rather focus on, you know, how do we serve each other and how do we show up for each other. And I find that kind of takes care of a lot of things. And it's nice to be a plus one, guys. Sometimes it's just, you know, just go and just be a plus one. And I find that works for us. You ready to go to Nontle? So Nontle's question, Nontle, I'm going to try to remember it. But Nontle's question was, Nozi, you spoke about David White in the poem sometimes, and she's clearly now read it. And she's asking, what was the conversation or the question that convinced each of you that this one was the one? I thought that was a brilliant question. By the way, Nontle, you seem to have a question or a conversation that convinced you. Okay, I'll start. I'm gonna start. Okay, so I don't know if it's just one, but I think it is a number of them. So Debza, if you're here now, I'm giving away when I started liking this guy, and you probably were around. But I have always been hectically attracted to Rori's intellect. And I would, you know, watch this guy just command a room with his mind and I found that exceptionally attractive. And by the way, we didn't like each other when we first met. We actually really detested each other actually. But I kept on being intrigued by the way he thinks and the way he frames things in his mind and his ability to do that in the flow. So that was probably that. But one of the sweetest things that Rori did, now I'm giving away family secrets, but one of the sweetest things that Rori did when he was wooing me is that he would call me between 11 and like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we'd literally have a conversation in the middle of the night, so that we could say that we chatted that day and the next day. And it was striking for me that we never ran out of things to say. There was distance between us. We were, in different cities at the time. But I was just and I was just touched by this person who had this incredible ability to keep me so engaged and so wanting for more, just with conversation, nothing else. And I think that's when I started falling in love with you. Even before anything, I was like, I've never had that experience before in my life, and that was super special.
Yeah, thanks. So I guess it's many small conversations. I don't think I had a one conversation, and that one conversation
Convinced you?
Convinced me. I think, it would have been a conversation. I mean, the first time that we really connected was because somebody was kind of lying to us, and both of us kind of at the same time got I know this guy.
That's shy.
We kind of said that at the same time and sort of laughed. So it was that. But I think also, the series of conversations that gave us a sense of, sure, this person's value systems are very similar to mine. Upbringing, very kind of similar. We didn't have similar upbringings in that way, but just certainly similar experiences that help to shape, the people that we are. And then conversations about the future. So if you go to the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it describes life and being alive as a combination of, having hopes, having loves, hates, and dreams. And so basically it speaks about the dead. The dead are gone. They no longer have loves, hates, and dreams. And so I think the conversations that would have led me to kind of start to feel like, sure, this is the one, are those conversations in which there was an alignment around loves, hates, and dreams. What do we dream about together? What do we dream for as a couple, but also just for our own individual lives? What do we love? What do we hate? And I think the combination of that and just feeling like, okay, there's alignment there as first principles, I think for me certainly gave me the comfort to say, okay, I think this is the one. There were also moments, it's not conversations. I remember we had a racist incident when we were out with a bunch of friends.
We weren't engaged then, no?
No, we weren't engaged. The guy came and basically just told all of us and basically called us names. Unfortunately, I'm not encouraging it, but it turned out into a physical altercation between me and this guy who was probably significantly bigger than me, but it started a physical altercation, and there was Noz. Eventually, she jumped on a table and kind of tried to get it between us, and basically telling this guy,
I said, you touch a hair on his head.
If you touch him. And I was like, sure, this one I can go to war with. So that's at least one of the moments that I was like, this one I can go to war with this one.
You don't touch my people. Uzoshayeka is the long and short of it. Debs is saying Rori is such an incredible listener, takes active listening to the next level.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Debs.
Yeah, I probably just want to, I want to echo that. I think it's one of the gifts. Yeah, it is one of the gifts that you bring. Hey, this guy. So let's see if there's.
I saw. I think it was Leslie who asked. A question that wasn't about us, thankfully.
Okay, what was Leslie asking?
She said, "How do you?" Les, can you just repeat it? But it was about the difference between vision and purpose. Or how does vision and purpose overlap?
Go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my top of mind thought on that is that, I imagine that purpose, you do not derive purpose from, is not a purpose, not self-derived. Whatever creates you places within you and on you purpose, right? I mean, you don't just land and say, oh, this is my purpose. That's why we speak about the discovery of purpose, is that it sits somewhere or it is defined somewhere, and it's my job to try and connect with it. But it's predefined, and I guess those that are, religiously inclined and so on would seek their purpose from God, or whatever their religious inclination is. And so I think that purpose is certainly something that one, in my view, it's certainly something that one seeks out, but it's predefined outside of you. The way I look at it, based on my Christian belief, is that I really just have the amazing privilege of being part of God's divine destiny, which is millennia long, and I just come here for 80 plus and hopefully more years, and I live out whatever my role in that divine destiny is, and that's purpose. And vision then is something that I can then begin to define for myself from an understanding of what my purpose is, or at least an approximation of what my purpose is. And my vision for me is, what do I see about my life in, whether it's the next 10, 50 years, what will life look like? I think in my work, this is a question I normally help clients figure out, I think the biggest challenge with visions is they're never really defined. I say, you need to be able to draw your vision. You need to be able to paint a picture of what life looks like in 50 years' time. And where they overlap is that for me, vision derives from purpose. If I know what my purpose is, then my vision would be aligned to that. So yeah, I don't know what you...
Yeah, I think I'll just add something very small, and I think it aligns very much with what you've shared, and that is, I often say that, purpose is not something you go and find. And I think we often talk about finding my purpose as if it's something that exists outside of you. And I totally agree that, purpose is part of your wiring, your DNA, the way you configured. It comes already made, because it is your gift, your maker's intent for you and your place in the world. And so that's why I always say that oftentimes I think we confuse purpose with our professions. We go in search of jobs and thinking that our job is or the profession is a manifestation of our purpose, and I don't think that's the case. I think a job, Rori, you would describe it maybe as a platform. Like a job is a platform where you profess your profession, you profess your purpose, and that's why I'm always super comfortable, with the idea that you will always change jobs, we'll always move between opportunities, but as long as one is aligned with one's purpose, the thing that you do will give you meaning in a way that makes it feel like purpose. So, I think oftentimes people have like a mini crisis every time, like, either a job comes to an end or a job that they really wanted and they don't get it because they think that they've missed their purpose. And I think we need to look within, because that's where purpose derives from. So I was probably just going to add that only. Inga Matlingwane.
I think someone is correcting us.
Which is?
I think she asked how both your visions and purposes overlap.
No. So the second part of Les's question. So thanks, Premium. The second part of Les's question was, how does your vision and your purpose overlap? And that's what you were sharing about, how your vision is the enabler or the plan to bring your purpose to life. And I'm just saying I agree with that, so I wouldn't add anything to it. So Inga's asking, she's saying that both of you guys, from what I know, are Tutu fellows. She's particularly interested in how us being fellows plays out, and how did it impact your professional life in particular?
Yeah, so I don't, I guess being a Desmond Tutu fellow is about, for those that don't know, the Desmond Tutu Fellowship, they select, each class is about 20 people or under.
Yeah, 20.
Of the best people that they can find on the continent, between a certain age group. And you undergo a fellowship, a sort of a training or leadership capacity development, I don't know how to put it, both in South Africa but also at Oxford University in England. And I think so one for me was the tutelage itself, kind of the subject matter that we get to engage with, and because it's an immersive experience, it's not just like head knowledge. It is an immersive experience, both as a reflective exercise, being able to look oneself in the mirror, and then to learn a few things. And then secondly, it gave a continent-wide and a global network, access to a continent-wide and a global network, such that, if there's anything that I'm doing that concerns any part of this continent, definitely, and other parts of the world, there are people there who have walked a similar journey and are part of, there's intention in this thing of it being a fellowship. We are fellows. We owe each other the courtesies of being fellows and having gone through a particular journey together. So certainly gave that network. But it also, iron sharpens iron. You are in a room with, approximately 20 of the best of your generation around the continent. So it is an opportunity it was an opportunity for my iron to be sharpened by the irons of others. And I guess to do the same. So I think those would be the three primary benefits, certainly for me and my career. But my sense and my experience is that it doesn't really work if you go in with the view of it being about what am I going to get out of this professionally. That comes as a derivative of simply engaging and immersing in the particular process.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, I've spoken about my fellowship journeys at length, so I won't add to it. I'm mindful that we're probably going to have to wrap up very soon. I want to take the last two questions. Kule,
the MBA question or the strategy question.
Oh yeah, so last three questions. So Kule, I see your question, but I just want to do a quick question from Nontle. Maybe you can maybe try and give it a concise answer. But Nontle is saying, how do you balance your belief in God as a Christian and some of the work opportunities that might come your way? In other words, how do you remain kingdom conscious in everything that you do in your work as a strategist?
Yeah, I don't know. They're not mutually exclusive. I take me into every single thing that I work on, and I take guidance from God in what I do. And anything that is certainly not values aligned, I'm not even doing. So say no to things, or simply just don't get involved. Where we are in a piece of work and a values clash originates, then typically, it's either walking out or trying to resolve it. But also, we were called to be salt of the earth. We were called to be light. And, it won't always be ideal, and it's not always automatic or as easy to simply say I'm walking out. And I think for me, it's just trying to maintain a discipline, and I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly trying to maintain the discipline of consulting with God, like, okay, so what am I doing here?
Okay, all right. Hi guys, Lisa, hi. The foodie, hi. Luyanda, hi. Can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear us? Les, can you hear us? Mel, Avetandra, Sabuhle, can you guys hear us? Can you just give us a thumbs up or send us a message if you can hear us? My battery is running low, so that's why we keep getting cut out. So I just want to make sure. Kado, can you hear us? Can you guys confirm? Makunga, please finish off, Rori. Says Lady Lamin, crystal clearly says Luyanda. Okay, so you were on the point about, you were finishing the point about.
I don't experience it as a mutually exclusive thing. I think here's a quick observation. Most of the cultures that I've observed as being particularly resilient to change and so on are those in which the religious belief and the cultural beliefs are one, or are very closely intertwined. It's not they don't go and pick up the religious belief on a particular day, and they don't stop being those people when they step out of a particular building. They simply are that. So they are not trying to be religious in doing certain things. They're simply just being who they've always been born to be.
Yeah.
And so my experience and my observation is that it's not really about, well, who do I go into the work environment as? It's who am I generally? And like I said, and I always say that I'm not perfect. It doesn't presuppose perfection. It simply says that that's a light, or that's a beacon that I'm constantly trying to orientate myself according to.
Okay, so I want to squeeze in 2 last questions before our guests arrive. Thanks, love. Naldika says, that makes so much sense. Thanks, Rory. Matt is saying, word. One of the questions we got was about, so Rory is a strategist, but can I say corporate strategist, right? So, whereas I'm a conversation strategist. But the question that we got was, how does one get into strategy? Now, maybe you're best suited to answer that question as a corporate strategist. And her question was, she's currently doing an MBA. Would you say that that's the route? Because you did an MBA as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. For me, strategy is something that you... being a strategist is something that you become through apprenticeship. There are some professions that you don't go to school and leave with a certificate that says you are hereby an X. And my experience is being a strategist is certainly something that you really you become, or you learn through an apprenticeship. So it is gained in the act of work and watching masters at work at the same time.
Let me go.
You can go. So for me, how one becomes a strategist, and I guess it's also important to try and define what a strategist is. I think strategy is one of those things that gets thrown around a lot. Everybody is a strategist, or so they say. But, in essence, strategy is the art of winning. Any strategist is just an expert at figuring out how to win. And so, with that said, you can go in there. I mean, there's some great strategists that have gone in from a social sciences perspective. Some have gone in from a quant's perspective. Some have gone in through a military perspective. I think the key thing is, do you have an ability to analyze the environment, to understand how the different factors and the different variables that operate in the environment interact with one another, and then finally to figure out how to configure resources within those environments in order to achieve whatever win would look like in that environment. And also just to be very good about understanding and defining what win is in any given scenario. So I think that's how I got in, was by taking. I think a qualification, it really just gives you a toolkit, but it's just like if you gave me a set of tools, woodworking tools. It certainly doesn't make me. It doesn't make me what's the guys that do wood?
A carpenter.
It certainly doesn't make me a carpenter because I have a carpenter's toolkit. It is only in the process of watching carpenters work and in practicing the craft myself that I too become a carpenter. And so I think for me, a strategy, you get into strategy by doing that. And he also doesn't, there are many roles that don't have the word strategy in the name of the role, where a great deal of strategy gets exercised. So I don't think it's necessarily about that. I guess it's important just for you to know in which spaces do you want to engage in the exercise of strategy.
So I lost Kule's question because it was on the other live and I had pinned it and I hadn't memorized it, so I feel so bad. But Kule, hopefully if you're watching still, you're going to send us through your question. I just want to check in here in the questions that it wasn't, it wasn't in there. So I'm really sorry about that. But maybe we begin to wrap it up. Our guests are here. Oh, Nonhla's asking, what are we actually having for supper?
I don't know.
Uber Eats. It's a range of different things from different places. But when it's decanted, it just looks like 7 colors on a Monday. That's all that matters. But maybe, just to wrap it up by saying, firstly, thank you very much, guys, for just receiving us with such warmth and always being amazing as the Mentorship Monday community. The conversation felt a lot less like mentorship today. But, for me, it's always about the questions that people want to know about, right? So if these are the questions you're most curious about and the things that you want to chat to us about, that's absolutely fine. And there were some really good, mentorship questions, like the strategy conversation that's just happened now. It takes a lot for me to be able to drag my husband into a live. This is not his normal place, but he was generous enough today just to indulge me, especially after a long day that we spent together, but to be able to do so. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you very much, guys, for being here. It means so much to us. Thank you.
It's good to see all of our friends, and Steps, good to see you, and everybody else. And I guess even the questions that weren't
answered,
that weren't like vocation specific, were also mentorship questions. And I guess for me, the thing I'd summarize on is that, look, it may look perfect on Instagram or wherever else you get to see it, but it definitely isn't perfect. It's a work in progress. And I guess just like the strategy question, we become husband and wife through the act of husbanding and wifing. By having been pronounced husband and wife, that was the beginning of the journey and not the end. And so it's really just if you see us having a tiff, typically it would be in a mall, and typically it would be because she's just gone overboard in terms of just how much time
or the negotiating,
how much time is spent in that. Then don't say, but you guys said. It's like no. In that moment, we're still just trying to find ourselves. But so thank you, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Cisco says, Nozi, I love how proud you look. I do look proud. I do look proud. I'm proud of you. Thank you so much.
We love you, Cisco.
Love you so much. And thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye.